last week's statistics from the Electoral Commission of South Africa, the IEC, painted a growing picture of a registered eligible young voter base for the national and provincial elections. Of particular interest, however, were young people under 30. Well, for more on this, I'm now joined in studio by Executive Chairperson of the NYDA, Mr Sifiso Mtsweni. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Peter.
All right, so here's the deal. What we know for sure is 9.8 million people did not even bother registering to vote. 6 million of those were under 30.
Yes.
And generally, young people in these elections, those that did register, were half of the ones that registered for the first time in the last elections. So for some reason, young people were either not interested or didn't show up for these elections. Do we have any idea why? What put them off?
Well, I think firstly, let's salute all the young people that have actually gone out to vote a few days ago. I think once again, the South African democratic system has proven to be resilient. It has proven to be strong. I mean, this is the 6th democratic elections in the country, free and fair, no violence, no intimidation. And I think for that, we need to salute not only the young people, but the people of this country. But coming to your question, I think over some time, and I think when we analyze the statistics, we need to look at it from a broader point of view. Those who registered in 2014, for instance, and who were 18 and 19, obviously in this round of elections, they are not eligible to register again. But now what we had now this time, and it's something that when we went to the ground, we started finding out. We visited high schools on the second round of voter registrations, where in fact over 1 million actually came out to register. Is that somehow we need to expand voter education into high schools. We need to expand voter education into the townships. But be that as it may be possible that young people today are faced with a lot of challenges. Many are disenfranchised. Many have actually lost hope. Young people are unemployed. When you are unemployed, generally, voting becomes the last thing on your mind. And I think there's a deeper issue that we need to really confront and ensure that really we bring the young people back into the mainstream. Whether economically, whether socially, young people need to stop being on the margins.
Are you saying that they don't make a connection between voting in a government and the solving of their problems?
Well, remember, during elections, all political parties come and say, this is what we're actually going to do for you. And based on that, I mean, many political parties will come and say, look, this is what we've been able to deliver. And based on that, they're able to maintain their base. I'm saying, for the last few years, the people who are the hardest hit in terms of the challenges in this country is young people. But at the same time, if you look at the successes of government, in fact, they've favored young people more. Today, you speak about free education from grade 1 all the way to a first degree. That includes school feeding schemes. That includes, scholar transport and so on. When you talk about, in fact, a big chunk of young people that have actually benefited out of EPWP programs, out of internship programs. So there's been quite a few. The TVET college sector, for instance, today has over 3 million young people that are actually there studying for free. But I think there's quite a lot of young people as well who have dropped out of the system. Many of them who have actually lost hope. The group that we call that are neither in education, in training, and so on. We need to be able to get those young people back into the system. But I'm saying that those young people that have actually gone out to vote, 10 million voted. 60% of that 10 million is actually young people, and we need to say that story, because sometimes we tend to paint a picture as though those who didn't come, it means young people in general did not participate.
Okay, so young people are the most unemployed in South Africa. What are agencies like yours doing? Because part of that non-voting is because I've been out of school 5 years, maybe I've worked 5 months in those 5 years. What's the point of voting is if nothing changes?
Well, I think I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. One way is that, look, the institutions like the National Youth Development Agency, we exist to assist young people in various facets. One is the economic development or economic participation of young people, where we take young entrepreneurs, we train them, give them mentorship, give them funding. Now, we do our funding differently from any other institution. We give them grants. They are able to succeed. Our success rate is actually at 68%. If you look at any other funding institution, you'll realize that we're actually successful. But the problem with the NYDA has always been that you have an institution of 435 million rands, and you've got 19 million economically active young people. If you take that that 19 million you divided by 435, you are virtually spending 20 rand per young person in this country. It's not enough. That needs to change. At least 1 billion needs to be pumped into the NYDA. Just last year alone, we funded over 1,100 young people who have created, in a margin of 4 to 5 jobs each. Now, already tells you that there's about 12,000 jobs that are created in 1 year. If we're able to expand that, we're able to create more jobs. But on the other side, one of the things that we set as a solution, South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that do not have a compulsory national youth service program, where young people, whether when they finish matric, they are enrolled into a compulsory national youth service program, which will assist them to better understand the country, which will assist them to be patriotic, which will assist them to actually be part of the nation building in our country, part of taking the vision of our country forward. And I think that's one area that has been lacking. And as the NYDA, we said now this year, will focus on the national youth service program and really appeal to government to say, let's fund it. Let's make sure that each and every young person goes through a national youth service program before they can even apply for a job, because that way we'll be able to take South Africa and move it forward.
So the president is going to have to put together a cabinet soon, a trimmed one by all account. Should there be a minister of youth?
Well, I think currently you've got a ministry in the presidency. I think the NYDA Act, by the way, places the agency in the presidency. The reason for that is that youth development cuts across all ministries. Now, if you were to say, here's a Ministry of Youth, what happens in the Department of Sports and Recreation? What happens in the Department of Basic and Higher Education? What happens, in the Department of Health? Because all those particular departments, social development, those affect young people. So you cannot have issues of young people being confined into a corner. We need a minister in the presidency that will be responsible for young people. But I think one of the things which are quite important now is that we can't continuously have an aging cabinet when the majority of the people in this country are young people. 60% of the population of this country is young people under the age of 35. We can't have 75-year-olds and 80-year-olds taking decisions on behalf of these young people. So what we want to say to the president is that when he appoints his cabinet, he must now look to the youth of this country, because the youth of this country is actually going to take us forward.
So in conclusion, what you're saying is that a good starting point is, if you want to get these young people to come and vote, they need to be voting for people that look like them.
Precisely. Young people need to look at our government. Look, by the way, our government has been doing very well. And I think one of the things that, has always been a complaint is that, look, sometimes services, they become slow. But they will come. And at times, a phrase is used that, no, government is moving like an elephant. We no longer want an elephant now, we want the speed of a cheetah. And the only way we can get the speed of a cheetah is if we have youth ministers that are able to take this country forward.
All right, Mr Sifiso Mtsweni from the National Youth Development Agency, thanks very much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. And let's hope that President Ramaphosa is listening and that there will be a minister in the presidency soon to deal with youth issues. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Peter.